The back door of the farmhouse creaked, and Louise swiveled on the spot, her gun held out in front of her as she'd been trained to do. But no one was there. She didn't want to call Finch on the radio in case it revealed his position, so reluctantly she made her way towards the door alone. The smell inside was reminiscent of the decay in the barn. Her stomach was more accustomed to it now. There was a chance Finch was in danger, so she edged along the walls, her ears primed for the faintest sound. She secured the ground floor as well as she was able, the torch revealing more mounds of unidentifiable matter. "Finch!" she muttered under her breath at the sound of breaking glass from upstairs. She wasted no time, sprinting up the wooden staircase and almost breaking her ankle as her right foot lodged itself in a hole in one of the stairs before she shook it free. "The end room on your right," came Finch's voice. "I think he's carrying," he added. Now on her knees, she crawled along the landing of the hallway to meet Finch, who was instructing Walton to come out. The man didn't answer. "I'm going in," Finch told her. "He's not going anywhere, Tim. Let's wait it out. Backup will be here soon," said Louise, but she had already sensed it was too late at that point. Finch wouldn't want to wait for police backup. His sights were set higher than merely apprehending the killer. He wanted the glory, and she knew at that moment that he wanted it all for himself. "Cover me," he said, stepping over the threshold. It all happened so fast. Finch tripping as he edged through the doorway, Louise ducking as the figure in the corner threw something at her, and finally Finch's words. "He's holding!" 18 months later. Chapter 1. Jeff Simmons secured the boat and stumbled up the hill, tripping over his feet in his haste. He'd come close to missing the tide, but he was here now. He stopped at the top of the incline, his breath returning, secure in his isolation. The gentle ache he'd experienced was still with him, and he wondered how long it would remain. He understood his other pains, the bruising on his shoulder, the heaviness in his legs. But the nagging tug at the center of his stomach could not so easily be explained. His makeshift home was calling, but would have to wait. Instead, he battled across the barren plateau of the small island until the silhouette of the mainland revealed itself in the murk of the early morning light. Taking out his high-powered binoculars from his rucksack, he stopped and slumped onto the damp ground. His palms itched, and he took off his leather gloves to scratch his scarred flesh as the sound of the waves battering the rocks beneath him filled his ears. From where he sat, the mainland was little more than a shadow, a blotch of gloom lit by the occasional streetlight. He'd lived in Weston-super-Mare all his life, yet he felt more affinity with the small lump of rock where he lay now. The peacefulness he experienced on the island was absent on the mainland. There were rarely any people. At this time of the year the island was deserted, unlike in Weston, where they crawled the town like ants. Even now, through the mist, he could make out the shape of a sea fisherman walking from the shoreline towards the retreating sea. Jeff adjusted the scope on his binoculars, sharpening the outline of the man. It was a peculiar time to go fishing. The tide would soon be so low the fisherman would be unable to cast far enough to wet his bait. But Jeff wasn't all that surprised. There was more to sea fishing than catching fish, and he presumed the fisherman sought the same kind of peace he was currently experiencing on the island. Either way, the man would soon serve his purpose. Jeff clutched his binoculars as the fisherman stopped dead and dropped his equipment. For a second, he thought the fisherman was going to turn his back and run from the sight only meters away from him, and he heard himself willing him onwards. Time stalled as the man glanced in all directions before inching forwards. Jeff kept his focus solely on the figure, as if losing sight of him would make him vanish. He realized he'd been holding his breath as the man dropped to his knees. And then the air left Jeff's lungs in a rush of noise he half feared would reach the mainland. Only then did he move the binoculars to focus for a split second on what the fisherman had discovered. Was it relief he felt,